You need to love being a debtor. A debtor, yes. You're a debtor to your friends that have been so good to you. And it keeps you loyal and bound to them in love and kindness. You're a debtor to God, who's given you life, body, universe to enjoy, time, all that you have. I love being a debtor. It keeps me loyal to God. It keeps me ever grateful to Him, ever filled with love, ever thankful, ever full of hope and joy, because of Him, because of His kindness, because of His kindness too through all those that have helped me and blessed me. And at times we have the privilege of doing likewise. You can think of it as being a channel of His love. For without His love we could have nothing to give. Being a debtor is the most wonderful thing. Even the Christian religion realized this, that it was our great debt, well, they think, to the crucifixion, of course, to the perfect atonement sacrifice that binds us to God and keeps us. And I guess it was true. It was right for people that believed in wow, can you hear that banging? Something on a vehicle going past, a heavy vehicle. Anyway, I'm in this idyllic spot, my friend's house near the river, Waikato. Beautiful countryside. He's got the use of about 6 acres. And it's a beautiful sunny day. It's a Sunday. And they're busy doing something. I think it's a by road, but they're happy doing it. They certainly wouldn't listen to my advice. And so I'm talking to you, and it occurs to me how wonderful it is to be a debtor, to be beholden to those that have been kind enough to give. Oh, you could say to lend, but the loveliest of people and God don't give expecting anything back, so it's not really a debt. When people give in kindness, it's a most heavenly debt, isn't it? And you just want to give back. In other words, they give you actually opportunity to love them. How wonderful. And we do likewise. We give, not asking for return, because it's all been given to us anyway. And we trust that all our needs and far, far more beside are going to be met by the love of God, our Dad. Love you, Dad. Thank you, Dad. Yes, I was saying before the traffic sort of interrupted that sacrifice was meaningful to, for instance, the Canaanites and those that from the Hebrew point of view hadn't the same contact with God that they'd had. But they were still basically Canaanites themselves, I think, because they did what the Canaanites did. You know, you got Abraham about to sacrifice his son as some sort of offering to God. And you just think, how could that have happened? they weren't as enlightened as they needed to be. They were not a born-again people, of course, in the Jesus story sense. They were just a chosen people. And God did his best for them. And some were profoundly affected, of course. This is always so, isn't it? Some in a culture are way ahead of others. They are developing on the spiritual plane here in the physical. And one feels making the best use of being here. They're not going to miss the opportunity. They're really living on the nirvanic plane. You know, Jesus says the kingdom of heaven's within you. I mean, it's now. He's in it. I want them, Lord, to be where I am. And clearly he was still on the planet at the time. I mean, it was pretty close to the end of the story, but, well, at least the end of that story. But the Christian story itself has been developed magnificently from it. In the lives of those that have been so profoundly affected by it. By definition. But there are many down the ages, aren't there? And you could go through, you know, the Dark Ages or medieval times or even the Renaissance and so on. And there were still some that were so wonderfully concerned with what they understood to be godly. And you could say, well, it was worshipping their God, their view of God. Yeah, that's true. But somehow they were outstanding. And we may have, hopefully, the not too edited versions of their writings left to us. And a great blessing that can be. As I say, God has given us the opportunity of jumping the queue. You can find out the hard way. Endless incarnations. Or you can accept some of the truths of Scripture. Not all, because some of them are pretty dodgy and we're not quite clear who's written them. But broadly speaking, you can accept certain truths and find that they are what you value. And suddenly your streak's ahead. You can miss out. Well, let me say colourfully, thousands of incarnations. In fact, you can be born into the nirvanic plane here and now, while still in the body. You just know in your heart, you long for God, you love God. He's your reason for living. Life eternal. Bless you, and you are blessed. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. Thank you, Dad.